In the last lesson, we learned how to compare fractions with the same denominator. What that means is that the shape of the same size is divided up into the same number of pieces. Then we have to look at the numerator to see how many pieces we're talking about. Here we have 1/4. And that means out of 4 equal pieces, one piece is shaded in. Here we have 3/4, which means out of the same shape, the same size, there's 4 equal pieces and 3 are shaded in. Therefore, the bigger the numerator, when the denominator is the same, the bigger the fraction. So 3/4 is greater than 1/4, and we can tell just by looking at the picture. Today we're going to learn what to do when the numerators are the same and the denominators are different. Let's use cake for an example. Here I have a piece or 2 cakes exactly the same. This cake on the left I'm going to divide up into 3 equal pieces. This cake that's exactly the same size I'm going to divide up into 6 equal pieces. Now, what I want to know is which pieces are larger. What happens when you take a cake the exact same size and you cut it up into more pieces? Well, what happens is the more pieces you have, the smaller your piece gets. Because with this cake, I only have to share with 3 people. And this cake, I have to share with 6 people. So my pieces are getting smaller. So let's turn this into a fraction. This cake right here, I only have 3 total pieces. This cake right here, I have 6 total pieces. If I were to eat just one piece, I would have 1/3 of this cake, and I would have 1/6 of this cake. The numerators are the same, and I want to know which piece is bigger. Whenever the numerators are the same, you look at the denominators. The denominator that is the smallest is going to be the bigger fraction. So 1/3 is greater than 1/6. And I can tell this just by looking at the cake, because these pieces are going to be bigger than these pieces only because there's less people to share with, so you get more cake. I went shopping and I bought myself 2 scarves that were the same size. One scarf is 1/6 blue, that means 1 piece out of 6, and the other scarf is 1/4 blue, which means 1 piece out of 4. My question is, which fraction is less, 1/6 or 1/4? I can tell by looking at this picture which fraction is less. If you look, the numerators are the same. When the numerators are the same, we look at the denominators. Remember, the denominator tells you the total number of equal parts. The smaller the denominator, the bigger the piece, because there's less people to have to share with. So, that means that 1/6 is less than 1/4. If I look at my scarf, I can see that the 1/6 is smaller than the 1/4. So, the smaller the denominator, the bigger the part, the bigger the fraction is. If you look at the fraction strips here, here is my 1 whole, right here. And here I have 1/4 compared to 1/6. And just by looking at it, I can tell that 1/6 is less than 1/4. Let's look at another example. Let's say that I have 2 ribbons the exact same size. One of the ribbons is 2/4 pink, and the other one is 2/3 pink. Which fraction is less, 2/4 or 2/3? So I'm going to use my fraction strips to compare. Here's my 1 whole, and then I've got my 2/4 right here, and I've got my 2/3 right here. Just by comparing them, my 2/4 and my 2/3, I see that the numerators are the same, so I have to look at the denominators. And just by looking at my fraction strips, I can figure out pretty quickly that 2/4 is less than 2/3. Remember that when two fractions have the same numerator, the fraction with the greater denominator is less than the other fraction, because the smaller the denominator, the less pieces you have to share. The bigger the denominator, the more you have to share, so the smaller the pieces get. That's how we compare fractions with the same numerator. Now it's time to do the guided practice with your teacher.